Hey guys, tonight we're diving into one of history's most controversial texts, a book so dangerous that early church fathers literally tried to erase it from existence. You're settling into your pillow right now, probably thinking this is just another sleepy history lesson, but the Book of Enoch contains stories that would make your grandmother clutch her pearls and demand you turn off the lights immediately. We're talking about angels who abandoned heaven to teach humans forbidden knowledge, giant offspring that terrorized the earth, and secrets so explosive that religious authorities spent centuries trying to bury them deeper than your high school yearbook photos. You probably won't survive hearing about the Watchers without questioning everything you thought you knew about ancient mythology and religious canon. But hey, that's what makes for interesting dreams, right? So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment below with your location and what time you're listening. I love seeing where this sleepy community spans across the globe, from midnight in Melbourne to 3 a.m. insomniacs in Minneapolis. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find yourself transported back to the 3rd century BCE, when scribes in ancient Palestine were carefully copying texts that would later shake the foundations of religious orthodoxy. The parchment crackles under their weathered fingers as they transcribe the visions of Enoch, the mysterious figure who supposedly walked with God and never died. Historians still argue whether Enoch was a real person or a literary device, but what's undeniable is the explosive content of the book bearing his name. The mainstream historical fact here is that the Book of Enoch was widely read and quoted by early Jewish and Christian communities, even referenced in the New Testament, Book of Jude. But here's the quirky tidbit that'll make you chuckle into your pillow. The book was so popular in ancient Ethiopia that it became part of their official biblical canon, while the rest of the world was busy trying to forget it existed. Talk about religious FOMO on a continental scale. You can almost smell the incense and hear the hushed debates in ancient synagogues as rabbis wrestled with whether to include this scandalous text in their sacred collections. The Book of Enoch didn't just tell nice bedtime stories about angels playing harps, it revealed the dark side of the heavenly realm, complete with cosmic rebellion, forbidden romance, and the kind of divine drama that would make reality TV producers weep with envy. Asterisk, you're now witnessing the moment when everything in the heavenly hierarchy goes spectacularly wrong. The Watchers, special class of angels tasked with, well, watching over humanity, are getting a little too interested in their assignment. These aren't your typical Sunday school angels with fluffy wings and innocent smiles. These are powerful celestial beings who decide that human women are far more appealing than their boring eternal duties. The text describes how 200 of these Watchers, led by their ringleader Semyaza, make a pact that sounds like the world's worst fraternity pledge. They swear an oath together, knowing full well they're about to commit the ultimate cosmic crime. You can picture them gathered on Mount Hermon, probably looking like a celestial biker gang planning their next heist. Except instead of stealing motorcycles, they're about to steal the innocence of humanity itself. Historians still argue whether this story represents actual ancient beliefs about divine beings or serves as a metaphor for the corruption of knowledge and power. Either way, the narrative packs more drama than your average soap opera. and significantly more theological implications. The mainstream historical fact is that the concept of fallen angels appears across multiple ancient cultures, from Mesopotamian myths to Greek stories of rebellious gods. But here's a delightfully weird detail. Some medieval scholars were so concerned about the Book of Enoch's influence that they created elaborate charts mapping out angelic hierarchies, essentially creating the world's first supernatural organizational chart. Imagine trying to explain that to your boss at the quarterly review. You feel the weight of cosmic rebellion settling over the ancient world as these watchers abandon their posts. The text describes their descent with the kind of vivid imagery that makes you grateful you're safely tucked in bed rather than witnessing celestial beings going rogue. They don't just fall, they choose to fall. And that choice reverberates through every page of Enoch's visions like thunder rolling across an endless sky. Asterisk. You're about to meet the angel who makes all other bad boys look like choir singers. Azazel steps onto the scene like the ultimate cosmic troublemaker, and his resume of rebellion would make Satan himself take notes, while Semyaza might have been the ringleader of the Watcher's descent. Azazel becomes the professor of forbidden knowledge, teaching human skills that were apparently meant to stay locked away in heaven's classified files. The Book of Enoch describes how Azazel teaches men to make weapons of war swords, knives, shields, and breastplates. But he doesn't stop there, because apparently cosmic rebellion requires a well-rounded curriculum. He also instructs women in the arts of cosmetics, jewelry, and beautification, which might seem harmless until you realize that ancient texts often viewed such knowledge as dangerously seductive. You can almost hear the ancient equivalent of makeup tutorials will be the downfall of civilization. Echoing through the centuries, historians still argue whether Azazel represents a distinct figure from other fallen angels or if various traditions merged different rebellious beings into one composite character. The name itself appears in Leviticus as the scapegoat, creating a fascinating connection between Jewish ritual and apocalyptic literature that scholars love to debate over coffee and dusty manuscripts. Here's the mainstream historical context. Metallurgy and cosmetics were indeed revolutionary technologies in the ancient world, transforming both warfare and social structures. But the quirky detail that'll make you smile is that some medieval commentators were so scandalized by Azazel's beauty lessons that they wrote lengthy treatises on why lipstick was essentially a gateway drug to moral corruption. Apparently, they never met a teenager with a YouTube makeup channel. You watch as Azazel's teachings spread across the ancient world like the world's first viral content. Except instead of cat videos, it's instructions for crafting deadly weapons and achieving the perfect smoky eye. The text suggests that these forbidden arts fundamentally change human society, introducing concepts of vanity, violence, and technological advancement that were previously unknown. It's like watching the moment when humanity discovers fire, except the fire comes with a warning label that everyone chooses to ignore. You're witnessing the birth of the Nephilim, and trust me, this isn't your typical nativity story. When the Watchers decide to get romantically involved with human women, the result isn't just a cosmic scandalit's offspring that grow to become giants of legendary proportions. The Book of Enoch describes these children as enormous beings, some reaching heights of 300 cubits, which translates to roughly 450 feet tall. That's taller than most skyscrapers, which makes you wonder how they found clothes that fit. let alone where they slept. These Nephilim aren't just big, they're voraciously hungry. The text describes how they consume all the food that humans can produce, then move on to eating the humans themselves, and eventually start devouring each other. It's like a cosmic version of that friend who always finishes everyone else's fries, except with significantly more cannibalism and property damage. The mainstream historical fact is that giant beings appear in mythologies worldwide, from Greek Titans to Norse Jitna, suggesting either shared cultural memories or universal human fascination with beings of extraordinary size. But here's the amusing detail. Some Renaissance scholars tried to calculate the exact caloric requirements of 450-foot giants and concluded that feeding even one Nephilim would bankrupt entire kingdoms. Medieval economics meets biblical mythology, that's a dissertation topic. Historians still argue whether the Nephilim represent literal giants, metaphorical descriptions of powerful ancient peoples, or symbolic representations of human corruption and excess. The archaeological record, frustratingly for giant enthusiasts, remains stubbornly silent on the existence of 450-foot skeletons, though that hasn't stopped countless treasure hunters from searching. You can almost feel the earth trembling under the footsteps of these colossal beings as they stride across the ancient landscape, their shadows falling like eclipse across entire cities. The Book of Enoch paints a picture of a world where the natural order has been completely overturned, where the offspring of heaven and earth tower over creation like living monuments to cosmic rebellion. It's the kind of imagery that makes your own problems seem refreshingly manageable by comparison. Asterisk. You're now standing in the cosmic courtroom where divine justice is about to be served, and the defendant list reads like a who's who of heavenly troublemakers. The Book of Enoch shifts from earthly chaos to celestial consequences as God decides that enough is enough with this whole angels teaching forbidden knowledge and creating giant offspring situation. The archangels Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel step forward like the ultimate supernatural law enforcement team, ready to clean up the mess their fallen colleagues have made. The text describes how these loyal angels witness the corruption spreading across the earth and decide it's time for some divine intervention. You can picture them like cosmic detectives filing their report. Well, boss, the Watchers have taught humans how to make weapons. The women are wearing way too much makeup, and there are 450-foot giants eating everything in sight. Also, the humans have started worshipping the wrong things. Should we maybe do something about this? It's the kind of situation that makes middle management look appealing by comparison. Historians still argue whether this heavenly council represents actual ancient beliefs about divine governance or serves as a literary device to explain the problem of evil in the world. The concept of archangels as God's enforcers appears across multiple religious traditions, suggesting either shared revelation or really good ancient networking. Here's your mainstream historical context. The idea of divine councils making decisions about human fate appears throughout ancient Near Eastern literature, from Mesopotamian epics to Canaanite myths. But the delightfully specific detail that'll make you chuckle is that medieval artists who illustrated these scenes often depicted the archangels wearing contemporary armor and carrying weapons that looked suspiciously like whatever was popular in their own time period. Apparently, even divine warriors need to stay current with military fashion trends. You witness the moment when Gabriel receives his marching orders to destroy the Nephilim by turning them against each other. It's like watching the ultimate reality show elimination, except instead of getting voted off the island, the contestants literally tear each other apart. The text suggests that God's solution to the giant problem isn't direct annihilation, but rather letting their own violent nature consume them, a kind of cosmic let them fight approach that would make monster movie directors weep with joy. The Book of Enoch describes this divine strategy with the kind of poetic justice that makes you appreciate good storytelling. The Nephilim, born from forbidden unions and raised on violence, ultimately destroyed themselves through the very brutality they brought into the world. It's like watching karma work on a geological timescale, except with more property damage and fewer inspirational quotes on social media. Asterisk. You're about to witness the ultimate cosmic cleanup operation as the archangels receive their specific assignments for dealing with the fallout from the Watcher's rebellion. This isn't just divine punishment, it's a carefully orchestrated restoration project that makes FEMA disaster response look like amateur hour. Each archangel gets a specialized mission that plays to their particular heavenly skill set, like the world's most consequential team-building exercise. Michael, the warrior archangel, gets the job of binding Semiezer and his fellow conspirators. The text describes how these fallen watchers will be imprisoned beneath hills and rocks until the day of judgment, which is essentially the cosmic equivalent of being grounded until the end of time. You can almost hear Semiezer trying to negotiate. Come on, Michael, can't we just do community service instead? Maybe teach some anger management classes to the remaining giants. Gabriel's assignment involves the Nephilim situation, and his solution is elegantly brutal. He's instructed to incite them to destroy each other through civil war. It's like divine chess, except the pieces are 450-foot giants with anger management issues. The mainstream historical fact here is that ancient warfare often involved turning enemies against each other rather than direct confrontation, a strategy that appears in everything from Sun Tzu's Art of War to Roman political maneuvering. But here's the quirky detail that'll make you smile into your pillow. Some medieval commentators were so fascinated by Gabriel's psychological warfare tactics that they wrote entire treatises on angelic military strategy, essentially creating the world's first supernatural warfare manual. Imagine trying to get that past a modern military academy's curriculum committee. Historians still argue whether these detailed punishment scenarios reflect genuine ancient beliefs about divine justice or represent sophisticated theological attempts to explain why evil exists in a world supposedly governed by a benevolent deity. The problem of theodicy, why bad things happen if God is good, has kept philosophers busy for millennia. And the Book of Enoch offers one of the more dramatically satisfying solutions. You watch as Raphael receives perhaps the most poignant assignment. He's tasked with binding Azazel hand and foot and casting him into the wilderness, covering him with darkness until the day of judgment. The imagery is haunting. The angel who taught forbidden knowledge, condemned to eternal isolation, cut off from both heaven and earth. It's the kind of punishment that makes solitary confinement look like a spa vacation, and it carries the weight of cosmic justice that makes you grateful for your cozy bed and the simple pleasure of choosing what to watch on Netflix. You're now descending into the underworld with Enoch himself as he takes the ultimate field trip to places that definitely weren't included in any ancient travel brochures. The Book of Enoch shifts from cosmic justice to supernatural tourism, as our protagonist gets a guided tour of the afterlife that makes Dante's Inferno look like a pleasant weekend getaway. Enoch doesn't just hear about these places, he visits them, and his descriptions have the kind of vivid detail that suggests either genuine mystical experience or really impressive ancient imagination. The text describes how Enoch is taken to see the prison of the fallen angels, and it's not your typical dungeon scenario. These watchers are bound in a place of fire and ice, experiencing eternal punishment that somehow manages to be both freezing and burning simultaneously. It's like the worst possible combination of a Minnesota winter and a Phoenix summer, except it never ends and there's no air conditioning or hot chocolate to provide relief. Enoch encounters the imprisoned watchers, and they actually have the audacity to ask him to intercede on their behalf with God. You can picture this conversation. "Hey Enoch, buddy, we know we completely corrupted humanity and created giant monsters that ate everything, but could you maybe put in a good word for us? We promise we've learned our lesson." It's the kind of request that makes you appreciate the concept of consequences. Even if these particular consequences involve eternal torment, the mainstream historical context here involves ancient Near Eastern beliefs about the underworld as a place of punishment and purification. Similar concepts appear in Egyptian, Mesopotamian, and Greek mythologies, suggesting shared cultural understanding of post-mortem justice. But the delightfully specific detail is that medieval map makers actually tried to create geographical charts of Enoch's underworld journey, complete with distances and landmarks, as if planning a vacation to places that exist outside normal space and time. Historians still argue whether these underworld visions represent actual ancient beliefs about the afterlife structure or serve as elaborate metaphors for moral and spiritual states. The descriptions are so detailed and consistent that they've influenced everything from medieval mystery plays to modern horror fiction, proving that good supernatural world building never goes out of style. You feel the otherworldly chill as Enoch describes walking through valleys of fire where the wicked angels burn but are never consumed, their anguish echoing across dimensions like the world's worst eternal soundtrack. The imagery is so vivid that you're probably grateful to be experiencing it second-hand from the comfort of your warm bed, rather than taking this particular journey yourself. Asterisk, you're witnessing Enoch's encounter with the Tree of Life and the Tree of Knowledge, except this isn't the sanitized Sunday school version you might remember. The Book of Enoch presents these cosmic landmarks with the kind of detail that makes you realize the Garden of Eden story barely scratched the surface of what was really going on in paradise. Enoch's guided tours include stops at locations that make the original biblical narrative look like the abridged version, designed for audiences who couldn't handle the full cosmic implications. The Tree of Life, according to Enoch's vision, isn't just a nice piece of garden landscaping. It's a cosmic axis that connects heaven and earth. Its fragrance so powerful that it will heal all flesh when the righteous finally gain access to it. You can almost smell the otherworldly perfume wafting through dimensions, a scent so pure and healing that it makes your favorite candle seem like a cheap air freshener by comparison. The tree's fruit is described as more beautiful than any earthly food, which makes you wonder if ancient paradise had better produced sections than modern grocery stores. But here's where things get interesting in that uniquely Enochian way. The text describes how this tree is currently off limits to humanity because of the corruption brought by the Watchers. It's like the ultimate VIP section that humanity lost access to because some angels couldn't follow the rules. The mainstream historical fact is that sacred trees appear in mythologies worldwide, from the Norse Yggdrasil to the Buddhist Bodhi tree, suggesting universal human recognition of trees as symbols of cosmic connection. The quirky detail that'll make you chuckle is that some medieval botanists actually tried to identify what species the tree of life might have been, leading to elaborate debates about whether paradise featured olive trees, date palms, or some unknown variety that existed only in the divine realm. Imagine being the scholar who had to defend your dissertation on hypothetical horticultural practices in pre-fall Eden. Historians still argue whether these tree visions represent literal geographical features in some spiritual dimension or serve as complex metaphors for knowledge, immortality, and the relationship between divine and human consciousness. The imagery is so rich and specific that it's influenced everything from medieval illuminated manuscripts to modern fantasy literature. You find yourself standing with Enoch in this cosmic garden, breathing air so pure it makes your lungs feel like they've never truly experienced oxygen before, while contemplating trees that represent the ultimate in both blessing and prohibition. It's the kind of scene that makes you appreciate the simple pleasure of being able to eat an apple without worrying about cosmic consequences. Though you might never look at your local park's trees quite the same way again. Asterisk, you're about to explore one of the most controversial aspects of the Book of Enoch. Its detailed descriptions of heavenly astronomy that were apparently too advanced for ancient human understanding. Enoch gets what amounts to a cosmic science lesson, complete with explanations of planetary movements, calendar systems, and celestial mechanics that make you wonder if ancient people had access to knowledge that wouldn't be officially discovered for centuries. It's like finding a smartphone in a medieval manuscript, except instead of technology, it's astronomical accuracy that shouldn't have existed yet. The text describes how Enoch is taken on a tour of the heavens and shown the paths of the sun, moon, and stars with mathematical precision that rivals modern calculations. He learns about the 364-day calendar system, which divides the year into 4 seasons of exactly 91 days each, creating a perfectly symmetrical year that makes our current calendar system look like it was designed by committee. You can almost picture ancient astronomers reading this and thinking, wait, that actually makes sense. Why didn't we think of that? Enoch's celestial education includes detailed explanations of how the sun travels through different gates in the sky throughout the year, creating the seasons and determining day length. The mainstream historical fact is that ancient cultures worldwide developed sophisticated astronomical knowledge for agricultural and religious purposes, from Stonehenge to Mayan calendars. But here's the delightfully nerdy detail. Some modern astronomers have actually verified that Enoch's descriptions of celestial movements are remarkably accurate for their supposed time period, leading to fascinating debates about ancient knowledge sources. Historians still argue whether this astronomical precision represents genuine ancient scientific knowledge, later editorial additions to the text, or possibly some form of divine revelation that transcended normal human understanding. The level of detail is so specific that it's either remarkably advanced ancient science or the work of someone with access to information that shouldn't have been available. You find yourself floating through the cosmos with Enoch, watching the intricate dance of celestial bodies as they follow their appointed paths across the heavens. The text describes these movements with the kind of mathematical beauty that makes you appreciate how the universe operates like the world's most complex and elegant clockwork, except the gears are planets and the pendulum is time itself. It's the sort of cosmic perspective that makes your daily schedule seem both incredibly important and utterly insignificant simultaneously. The Book of Enoch suggests that this astronomical knowledge was part of what the Watchers taught humanity prematurely, implying that there's a proper time and season for every type of understanding, and that receiving knowledge before you're ready for it can be as dangerous as any other form of corruption. You're entering the realm of Enoch's prophecies, where the ancient seer shifts from cosmic tourism to future forecasting with the kind of accuracy that would make modern fortune tellers weep with envy. The Book of Enoch doesn't just describe what was happening in the ancient world, it lays out a timeline of future events that reads like the ultimate spoiler alert for human history. These aren't vague predictions about tall, dark strangers or unexpected journeys. These are specific, detailed forecasts about the rise and fall of kingdoms, the coming of messiahs, and the ultimate fate of both the righteous and the wicked. The text describes a series of symbolic visions involving animals that represent different nations and peoples throughout history. You've got sheep representing the righteous, wolves and dogs representing the wicked, and a complex menagerie of creatures acting out the drama of human civilization like the world's most elaborate puppet show. The mainstream historical fact is that apocalyptic literature often uses animal symbolism to discuss political events safely, allowing authors to critique current rulers without getting themselves executed for treason. But here's the quirky detail that'll make you smile. Medieval commentators took these animal prophecies so literally that they created elaborate bestiaries trying to match every creature in Enoch's visions to specific historical figures. Imagine being the monk tasked with determining whether Nebuchadnezzar was represented by a lion, a bear, or possibly a really aggressive sheep. It's the kind of scholarly debate that makes modern internet arguments look positively civilized. Enoch's prophecies include detailed descriptions of a coming flood that will cleanse the earth of the corruption brought by the Watchers and their giant offspring. This isn't just the familiar Noah's flood story, it's presented as part of a larger cosmic cycle of judgment and renewal that makes you realize the biblical narrative was just one chapter in a much longer story. The text describes how this flood will specifically target the pollution caused by forbidden knowledge and unnatural unions, like a cosmic reset button designed to restore the proper order of things. Historians still argue whether these prophecies were written before or after the events they describe, leading to fascinating debates about the nature of prophetic literature and the possibility of genuine foreknowledge. Some of the predictions are so specific and accurate that they either represent remarkable foresight or clever retroactive writing. Depending on your perspective on supernatural revelation, you find yourself swept along in the current of prophetic vision, watching centuries of human history unfold like a time-lapse movie directed by someone with access to the ultimate spoiler guide. It's both thrilling and slightly terrifying to contemplate the possibility that the future might be as predetermined as Enoch suggests, making you grateful that you're experiencing these visions from the comfortable distance of your warm bed, rather than living through the dramatic events they describe. Asterisk, you're now witnessing Enoch's most mind-bending revelation, his journey to the ends of the earth, where he discovers the foundations of heaven and the pillars that hold up the sky. This isn't your typical geography lesson. It's a cosmic architecture tour that makes you realize the ancient universe was constructed like the world's most elaborate building project, complete with structural supports, drainage systems, and what can only be described as divine engineering that would make modern architects question their career choices. Enoch describes traveling to the corners of the earth where he sees the pillars of heaven, enormous structures that support the celestial dome above. You can picture these cosmic columns stretching impossibly high, like the ultimate load-bearing walls holding up reality itself. The text suggests that these aren't metaphorical supports, they're actual architectural features of the universe, which makes you wonder if ancient people understood something about cosmic structure that we've forgotten in our rush to embrace spherical planets and infinite space. The mainstream historical fact here is that ancient cosmologies typically viewed the Earth as flat with a solid dome overhead, supported by pillars or mountains at the edges. This worldview appears in Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and Hebrew texts, representing shared ancient understanding of cosmic geography. But here's the delightfully specific detail. Some Renaissance scholars actually tried to calculate the engineering requirements for heaven-supporting pillars, leading to elaborate mathematical treatises on divine construction techniques that would make modern structural engineers scratch their heads in confusion. Enoch's journey takes him to the places where the winds are stored, described as cosmic warehouses where different types of weather are kept until needed. You can almost see these celestial storage facilities like the ultimate meteorological supply closet, where hurricanes hang next to gentle spring breezes, and snowstorms are filed alphabetically next to summer heat waves. It's the kind of systematic weather management that makes you appreciate the chaos of natural climate patterns, even when they ruin your picnic plans. Historians still argue whether these geographical descriptions represent literal ancient beliefs about Earth's structure, or serve as elaborate metaphors for divine control over natural forces. The level of detail suggests either remarkably consistent ancient cosmology or incredibly creative theological imagination, depending on your perspective on supernatural revelation versus human storytelling. You find yourself standing at the edge of the world with Enoch, looking out over the abyss that separates Earth from the cosmic void, while contemplating pillars so massive they make skyscrapers look like toothpicks. The imagery is both terrifying and terrifying, because it suggests the universe is far stranger than we imagine, but comforting because it implies someone is actually in charge of keeping the whole structure from collapsing. It's like discovering that reality has a maintenance crew, even if you can't see them working. Asterisk, you're about to encounter one of the most haunting aspects of Enoch's visions, his detailed descriptions of the punishment awaiting the wicked, and it's not the simple fire and brimstone scenario you might expect from Sunday school lessons. The Book of Enoch presents a sophisticated theology of justice that makes Dante's circles of hell look like a rough draft, complete with customized punishments that fit specific crimes with the kind of poetic precision that suggests either divine creativity or really advanced ancient psychology. Enoch describes seeing the spirits of the dead, divided into different compartments based on their earthly behavior, like the ultimate cosmic filing system where souls are sorted according to their moral credit scores. The righteous dead are kept in a place of light and refreshment, essentially a heavenly waiting room with good magazines and comfortable seating while they await their final reward. Meanwhile, the wicked are stored in places of darkness and torment, experiencing a preview of their ultimate fate that makes waiting at the DMV seem pleasant by comparison. The text gets specific about different categories of sinners and their corresponding punishments, creating what amounts to the world's first detailed penal code for the afterlife. Those who committed violence experience eternal violence. Those who spread lies are tormented by truth they can't escape. And those who corrupted others are isolated in solitary darkness. It's like cosmic karma with a really good memory and unlimited time for payback. The mainstream historical fact is that ancient cultures worldwide developed sophisticated concepts of afterlife justice, from Egyptian weighing of hearts to Greek underworld punishments. But here's the amusing detail that'll make you chuckle. Medieval artists who illustrated these scenes often depicted the punishments using contemporary torture devices. So Enoch's cosmic justice system ended up looking suspiciously like whatever was popular in local dungeons at the time. Apparently, even divine punishment needed to be relatable to the audience. Historians still argue whether these detailed punishment scenarios represent genuine ancient beliefs about afterlife justice, or sophisticated theological attempts to encourage moral behavior through fear of consequences. The psychology is remarkably advanced for its supposed time period, suggesting either divine revelation or really insightful ancient understanding of human motivation and guilt. You walk through these spiritual holding areas with Enoch, observing souls experiencing the consequences of their earthly choices with the kind of precision that makes you grateful for second chances and the possibility of redemption. The imagery is so vivid that you might find yourself mentally reviewing your own recent behavior, wondering which cosmic filing cabinet you'd end up in, and feeling thankful that you're experiencing this tour as a visitor rather than a permanent resident. You're now ascending to the highest heavens with Enoch as he receives the ultimate revelation of vision of the Ancient of Days, the divine figure who presides over all cosmic justice and whose appearance is so overwhelming that even angelic beings can barely endure being in his presence. This isn't a cozy fireside chat with a grandfatherly deity. This is an encounter with cosmic authority so absolute that it makes earthly power structures look like children playing dress-up with their parents' clothes. The text describes the Ancient of Days with imagery that combines terrifying majesty with incomprehensible beauty. His hair is white like pure wool, his garments whiter than snow, and his throne is flames of fire with wheels of burning fire. You can almost feel the heat radiating from this divine presence, a warmth that's both comforting and consuming, like standing too close to a bonfire that happens to be the source of all light and energy in the universe. It's the kind of encounter that makes you understand why ancient people fell on their faces when they met angels, and why fear of the Lord was considered the beginning of wisdom. Enoch witnesses the final judgment scene where the Ancient of Days opens the books containing the deeds of all humanity, and it's like the ultimate performance review, except the consequences last for eternity. The mainstream historical fact is that divine judgment scenes appear throughout ancient literature, from Egyptian afterlife texts to Mesopotamian epic poetry, representing universal human concern with ultimate justice and accountability. But here's the detail that'll make you smile. Some medieval scholars were so fascinated by the description of divine record-keeping that they wrote extensive treatises on heavenly bookkeeping practices, essentially creating the world's first theological accounting manual. Imagine trying to explain double-entry bookkeeping for eternal souls to someone who's never seen a spreadsheet. The vision includes the moment when the Messiah is revealed, described as the Son of Man who will judge the earth and establish eternal righteousness. This figure appears with authority that makes earthly rulers look like temporary substitutes, wielding power that's both gentle and absolute. Historians still argue whether this messianic vision represents early Jewish expectations about a coming deliverer or later Christian interpretations inserted into the text, leading to fascinating debates about the development of messianic theology. You stand in the cosmic courtroom with Enoch, witnessing justice being dispensed on a universal scale with the kind of thoroughness that makes human legal systems look like rough sketches. The imagery is so overwhelming that you're probably grateful to be experiencing it through ancient text rather than direct divine encounter. Though the vision carries enough power to make you contemplate your own place in the cosmic order of things, and maybe appreciate the mercy that allows you to read about ultimate judgment from the safety of your comfortable bed, you're experiencing the climactic moment when all of Enoch's visions converge into a unified revelation about the ultimate fate of creation, and it's not the simple good guys win, bad guys lose scenario you might expect from Hollywood endings. The Book of Enoch presents a complex vision of cosmic restoration that involves the complete transformation of both heaven and earth. Like the ultimate renovation project managed by someone with unlimited resources and perfect taste in interior design, Enoch sees the new heaven and new earth that will replace the current corrupted creation, and his descriptions make paradise sound like the kind of place where every sunset is perfect, every conversation is meaningful, and nobody ever has to deal with traffic jams or slow internet connections. The text describes how the righteous will shine like stars, their bodies transformed into something that can handle eternal existence without getting tired, hungry, or needing to check their phones every 5 minutes. The vision includes the restoration of perfect knowledge, where all the secrets that were corrupted by the Watcher's forbidden teachings will be revealed in their pure form. It's like getting access to the ultimate library, where every book contains truth instead of the mixture of wisdom and nonsense that characterizes most human knowledge. You can almost picture this cosmic university where learning never ends, but also never becomes boring, and where every question leads to deeper understanding rather than more confusion. The mainstream historical fact is that apocalyptic literature typically includes visions of cosmic renewal, representing hope that current suffering and injustice are temporary conditions rather than permanent features of existence. These renewal visions appear across cultures and centuries, suggesting universal human longing for a world that works the way it should. But here's the charming detail that'll make you chuckle. Some medieval commentators were so fascinated by Enoch's descriptions of transformed bodies that they wrote detailed treatises on the physics of resurrection, trying to figure out exactly how spiritual bodies would function and whether they'd need food, sleep, or bathroom breaks. It's the kind of theological speculation that makes you appreciate both human curiosity and the mystery of things beyond current understanding. Historians still argue whether these transformation visions represent literal expectations about future reality or symbolic descriptions of spiritual states that transcend physical existence. The imagery is so rich and specific that it's influenced everything from medieval mysticism to modern science fiction, proving that good visionary literature never goes out of style. You find yourself contemplating this ultimate happy ending with Enoch imagining a reality where knowledge serves wisdom instead of corruption, where power serves love instead of domination, and where the cosmic order finally works the way it was originally intended. It's the kind of vision that makes current problems seem both more serious and less permanent. Like preview scenes from a movie you're really looking forward to seeing, even if you're not sure when it's coming to theaters. You're reaching the end of this journey through the Book of Enoch, and as you settle deeper into your pillow, you can feel the weight of these ancient visions slowly transforming from dramatic revelation into the kind of deep, contemplative peace that comes from touching something larger than everyday concerns. The stories of fallen angels and cosmic justice begin to fade into the gentle rhythm of your breathing, like echoes of thunder that gradually become the soft sound of distant rain on your window. Enoch's final words in his book carry the gentle authority of someone who has seen both the worst and best that existence has to offer, and his message settles over you like a warm blanket woven from starlight and ancient wisdom. He speaks of hope that transcends current darkness, of justice that will ultimately prevail, and of love that remains constant even when everything else seems to be falling apart. These aren't just comforting platitudes, they're insights earned through witnessing the full spectrum of cosmic drama, from angelic rebellion to divine restoration. The Book of Enoch, banned and hidden for centuries, whispers its secrets into the quiet darkness of your room, reminding you that some truths are too powerful for casual consumption, too deep for surface understanding, and too important to be forgotten completely. The ancient scribes who preserved these visions understood that knowledge comes with responsibility, that revelation requires preparation, and that some stories are meant to be encountered when you're ready to receive their full impact. As your eyelids grow heavy, you can almost hear the soft rustle of ancient parchment, the gentle scratch of reed pens copying sacred text, and the whispered prayers of scholars who risked everything to keep these visions alive for future generations. Their dedication created a bridge across millennia, allowing you to share, for just a moment, in Enoch's extraordinary journey through realms that exist beyond the boundaries of ordinary experience. The fallen angels and their forbidden knowledge fade into shadow. The giants and their destruction become distant memories, and the cosmic courtroom with its ultimate justice transforms into the peaceful certainty that someone, somewhere, is keeping track of everything that matters. You drift toward sleep, carrying the gentle assurance that the universe, despite all its apparent chaos and confusion, is ultimately held in hands that are both powerful enough to create worlds and gentle enough to count every tear. Remember every tear, remember every kindness, and transform every ending into a new beginning. Sleep well, knowing that some stories are worth the telling, some secrets are worth the keeping, and some journeys are worth taking, even if they lead through darkness toward light that exists beyond the edges of dreams. The Book of Enoch closes its ancient pages around you like protective wings, and your dreams tonight may carry echoes of angels, whispers of cosmic justice, and the deep, abiding peace that comes from touching, however briefly, the eternal story of which we are all a part. Rest now, and let the ancient visions fade into the gentle darkness where all stories eventually find their home, and all questions find their rest.